Alright, hello everyone. Welcome to a new form of content. Basically, every single 3 weeks, I'm going to try to do a power rankings. This will be my first one of the year. So, not to waste your time, let's jump straight into this. The first two teams I have on here are the Bears and the Broncos. If you have to ask me, I think the Broncos are the smidge better, but they both play this week, week 4, and whoever loses that probably goes 0-17, if I'm going to be honest. So basically, the Bears, they were hyped up way too much, especially Justin Fields. I mean, people were talking about him like he was going to be an MVP candidate, and now he sucked. Nothing's turning well for the Bears. The defense has sucked. The offense has sucked. DJ Moore hasn't even been that good for the Bears, and a lot of Bears fans thought that would turn this whole thing around. And like I was talking about, Justin Fields, he is not playing too well. That's a problem. Next are the Broncos, who just got blown out 70-20. You heard me right. The Dolphins put up 70 whole points against the Broncos. 70. And the Broncos are 0-3 as well. I didn't see this happening. I think I had them either 1-2 or 2-1. So Broncos, Russell Wilson isn't even playing that bad. It's the defense. I mean, the defense is letting up 35 points, 70 points. I mean, that's just crazy to me. Especially since they had a really good defense last year. Now they suck. But we'll see which team's the worst one this weekend. Next, I have the Panthers. And this is very unfortunate for Panthers fans who, of course, just got Bryce Young. He did not play week 3. But honestly, Andy Dalton looks better than him, and I feel like this team just needs another year before they can start cooking. And why? Well, Bryce Young has been a surprise because we all thought he was the most QB ready of the group, and he turned out to suck. And of course, that's not a good thing for the Panthers. Their defense isn't horrendous. It's just their offense isn't turning out other than Adam Thielen. And they're just not in a good spot right now, and I see them needing another year or two before they can contend. Next, we have the Giants. And you may be thinking, how are the Cardinals above the Giants? Well, first off, the Cardinals beat the Cowboys. And second off, the Giants have been blown out 2 times. Once against the 49ers, once against the Cowboys, who the Cardinals beat. Daniel Jones is not playing well. Saquon Barkley is on week to week because of an ankle injury. I could see this team going up a bit when Saquon comes back, but right now they're just not in a good place. Next, I have the team I just talked about, the Cardinals. And even though they are down here at 28, they are still outperforming my expectations because I thought they'd go 0-17 and I thought they'd be the worst team in the league outright. But I have them at 28. So, good job, Cardinals fans. You're still likely going to get Caleb Williams. But if I have to say something good, Josh Dobbs hasn't looked horrible. Their running back's alright and their defense has looked pretty well. But I just can't put them up higher since I know they're tanking for Caleb Williams. And I feel like they're just going to use this win as an excuse to say, oh, we won against a contender. And they're just going to go like 1-16. But that's what I personally feel. Next, we have the Raiders. And I feel bad for both Jimmy G and Davante Adams. I had them as a 1-win team, so yes, they are outstanding my expectations because I didn't think they were going to win against the Broncos week 1. But Jimmy G has not played too well, and Davante Adams needs to be traded. Now, I had Davante Adams to the Jets 100%, but with Aaron Rodgers out, I don't know where he would go. So that's a problem for him. And this defense hasn't looked too splendid either. And they're just not really a good football team right now. I don't see him going above 5 wins now. But I do see him getting more than 1. Finally, to round out this list, is the Jets. And I feel so bad for the Jets. Because if you had Aaron Rodgers, not only would you be 3-0, but you would probably be in the top 5 of the league. And you guys play the Chiefs next week. I feel bad. So yeah, Aaron Rodgers going out was basically everything. Part because it ruined morale. Part because Zach Wilson. I'm still glad you pulled out that miracle win against Buffalo. But your team's not going to do good this year. I say you kind of tank for a top pick. Get someone good. Aaron Rodgers comes back. He might be able to win a Super Bowl with you guys. And then Zach Wilson may finally be ready. But we move on to our next tiers, which is 21 through 25. And the next team I have on this list are the Titans. Now, you guys surprisingly won a game. Not against the Saints, that is. But you guys have won a game. So, good job for you. But Ryan Tannehill definitely looks washed out there. Even though he had a good week 2. He had a horrible week 3 against the Browns. Well, I don't think... Well, you know who had a horrible week 3? Derrick Henry. I don't think he even got yards. And if he did, he got 3. Which is horrible for Derrick Henry. You know, being the best running back in the league and all, it's obviously CMC now. But being one of the top running backs of the league, you got to do better than that. And yes, I know the Browns O-line is pretty good. But you got to do better than that. So I still see this team start Will Levis. I hope he starts him so Anthony Richardson and Will Levis can face off. But overall, they're not doing good. And like I expected, DeAndre Hopkins is not doing too good either. Next, and it pains me to put these guys here, but I have to do it. They're 0-3. It's the Minnesota Vikings. And one thing, go watch my other video on Kirk Cousins. Yes, that was only 2 weeks in, but I say it still applies. Kirk Cousins needs to be traded. I don't care if he has a no-trade clause. He needs to be traded, particularly to the Jets. He's stuck on this team where every single person thinks it's his fault that they're losing these games. It's not. Kirk Cousins has had over 350 yards, or at least over 300 yards every single game. Justin Jefferson, over 150 every single game. Yes, I know he got 149, but I'm going to round that up. The offense hasn't been playing too bad either, everywhere else. But it's like, the defense and the turnovers, man. I mean, 9 turnovers, 8 fumbles, I believe, or 7 fumbles. I mean, that's just crazy. TJ Hawkinson just sold the win against the Chargers that would have probably moved him up to 16 in my book. Quite literally, yes, I know the conspiracy of spike the ball, but that was a perfect throw by Kirk Cousins. If you go look back at that interception, it was a perfect throw by Kirk Cousins. And if TJ Hawkinson doesn't drop that, the Vikings win the game. So I don't want to hear any of you guys with that, oh, he should have spiked the ball when the dude literally threw a perfect pass. Yeah, I just think they should just blow up the whole team, just start rebuilding now. Because I don't want to see all these good players waste their time in Minnesota. Next, we have the Rams. And the Rams have fallen back down to earth after their Week 1 upset victory against the Seahawks. Yeah. Very winnable game against the Bengals yesterday. Of course, they didn't. Because the Bengals are back. The Bengals are back. But the offense looked horrible. A lot of people on the O-line are hurt. So my Colts are going to devour Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford, after week 1, he hasn't played too well. Puka Nacua, he's him, but he didn't have too good of a game. I just feel like the Rams are falling back down to earth after this week. Next, another team that's falling back down to earth are the Washington Commanders, who I still have pretty high because they did start off 2-0. But they were against both bottom tier teams, and when they played the Bills, like the Raiders did, they got blown out. Sam Howell looked good for the first 2 games, then threw 4 picks. So I don't know what to make of him so far. The defense hasn't looked good at all. I mean, 33, 37 or 35, and then 20 to the Cardinals. That's not good. And overall, this team, like expected, they're not on top, but they're a sleeper team, in my opinion. Now, rounding out this part of the list, I have, not the Broncos, I have the Houston Texans. The Texans did just secure a huge upset victory against the Jaguars, but the Jaguars have been faltering for at least 2 weeks now. And since the Colts absolutely destroyed them, if we had Anthony, we would have put up 40. They would have put up 10. That's why I personally have the Colts as high they are, especially since that upset victory against Baltimore. But a win is a win, and you guys dominated the Jaguars, which I kind of like because we're first in the division now. But Texans fans, do not lose hope. Your season's not over, like people have said. If CJ Stroud and the rookie wide receivers keep playing like this, and the defense can lock in, they could be a pretty good team, which I hate to admit as a Colts fan, but they could be a pretty good team. So, don't lose hope, because CJ Stroud has looked really well. Definitely the best out of all the rookie QBs, only because Anthony was hurt. And yeah. Moving up to our next list, you might think this is a bit of a surprise, but I have the New England Patriots. And yeah, their defense is good. I know that for a fact. But their offense has not looked good. Kind of predicted this because Mac Jones, a weirdo who's touching places he shouldn't be. You probably heard about that now, if you keep up with the Patriots. But Mac Jones is just not a good quarterback, and I've been telling people this. Mac Jones is just not a good quarterback. He's better than Zach Wilson, but he's just not that good of a quarterback. They don't really have that good of wide receivers. Broncos keep trying to sneak up the list, huh? Anyway, back to the Patriots. Their defense looks really, really good, especially with Christian Gonzalez. He's probably been of like top three CB rookie. Definitely since he locked up Tyreek Hill, of course. But your defense is pretty good. If you can get a better quarterback and some wide receiver talent, the Patriots could be a very good team once again. Next, I have the Chargers. While the Chargers have looked good all 3 weeks, can you really put a 1-2 team if they're not the Bengals above 16? Yes, I have the Bengals above 16. They're not too high above 16, but I believe they're back. But the Chargers have looked really good on offense, really horrible on defense. Same with the Vikings, but they actually won their game against the Vikings, so I had to put them pretty high. Justin Herbert, only QB without a turnover, I believe. Keenan Allen looks really good. Mike Williams, another wide receiver, just got injured, so I don't know about that really. But the Chargers season definitely isn't over. I don't think the Vikings season is either. If they lock in, they could go on like a 5 or 6 win streak after the 49ers game. So yeah, don't count the Chargers out. I believe they can still do good. I still believe that Justin Herbert's a pretty good quarterback. And I think they can get to the playoffs if they try hard enough. Next, we have a surprise team here. As I had them at 3-14, we have the Bucs. And while they did lose to the Eagles, they didn't look horrible. Their defense picked off Jalen Hurts twice. I mean, that second pick was absolutely beautiful from that one guy. But, again, they still have Baker Mayfield. They have Baker Mayfield. I feel like this team's just going to fall back to reality soon enough. I believe. Buccaneers fans, don't flame me if the Bucs somehow go 12-4. Can't even go 12-4. 12-5 or something. But I just think they're going to fall back to reality. But I do still have them high because they played surprisingly well. I had them at 3 wins. They were already about to blow it out of the water. They already have 2. And I have more respect for both Baker Mayfield and the Bucs right now. But we just need more games for improvement, in my opinion. Next, probably the most surprising one to miss top 16. We have the Jaguars. And their offense after the Colts game has looked horrible for 2 weeks. I mean, Calvin Ridley, ETN have gotten nothing done. Trevor Lawrence hasn't looked too good. The defense hasn't looked too good. I mean, it's definitely a surprise. And definitely seeing how well the Colts are doing now, you'd think they do better. But they just aren't. So, I wonder what's going on. The Jaguars are going to bounce back 100%. I have them at 17 because I still believe they can do pretty good. But a 1-2 start is really, really surprising for them. And I'm shocked, in my opinion. But I don't mind because I'm a Colts fan. Anyway, just sneaking into the top half of the league, we have the Saints. Saints surprised me a bit too. I thought they'd go 0-3 without Alvin Kamara. But they went 2-0. They could have went 3-0 in my opinion. But biggest problem, Derek Carr's injury. Yeah, that took all the momentum, the morale out from the Saints. And the Packers could come back down 17-0 to win 18-17. And even their kicker missed. So things could be looking down for the Saints, especially without Derek Carr, who's actually looked pretty good. I still have him here. I feel like they could fall. If Jacoby Brissett's him somehow, then they could rise. But I don't really see it. But just squeaking in by the hairs of their chin are the Bengals. And the Bengals are back. They're back. Joe Burrow, yes, he had a pick. It's not his fault. T. Higgins had 2 drops. That pick, the Rams defender ripped the ball out of his hands. Joe Burrow played better than the first 2 games. And I think you guys are forgetting that last year Joe Burrow had 4 picks his first game. Just reminding you of that. So, people are talking about how the Bengals are washed or the Bengals are mid or they're just wrong. The Bengals will bounce back 100%. And if Joe Burrow doesn't get re-injured, they're going to be fine. Just fine. But that calf injury is really scary. I'm surprised they played him. I'm glad they did. Because even with Aaron Donald sacking him, he could still stay on his feet and stay up. So I'm glad for that. I don't want Joe Burrow to get hurt, of course. And that's about it for the Bengals. Moving on to our next team. Another surprise team. We have the Packers. And while I think the Packers will fall back down to reality wow. We'll fall back down to reality. The Packers have looked pretty good. Jordan Love is a surprise to me. Like, has he had 3 touchdowns every game? He only had 2 this week. He has 8 touchdowns, 7 thrown, 1 on the ground. Jordan Love's a surprise to me. I mean, I think he's their next franchise quarterback. I think they might have gotten a 3rd Hall of Fame quarterback, in my opinion. He looks pretty good. And even without everyone, a lot of people on the Packers are injured. Jordan Love still continues to pull out these victories. And this is a big surprise to me. I thought he'd look a bit bad, but they'd still pull out these victories. Their defense has been fine too. But overall, Packers are a pretty surprising team. Now, what team do you think is next on here? It's the Indianapolis Colts. You may think, oh, I'm overshooting them. Look at this list and tell me the Colts haven't been playing better than these teams. Have they played better than the Bears? Yes. Broncos? Yes. Panthers? Yes. Giants? Yes. Cardinals? Yes. Raiders? Yes. Jets? Yes. Titans? Yes. Vikings? Kinda yes. Rams? Yes. Commanders? Yes. Texans? Yes. Patriots? Yes. Chargers? Yes. You can argue with the Chargers and the Vikings. Bucks? Yes. Well, you can also argue with the Bucks, but I think the Colts can edge them out. Jags? Yes. Saints? Yes. Bengals? Yes. And Packers? Yes. If you look at it, they play better than all these teams. If Anthony Richardson can actually play, he will be the best quarterback. Well, maybe not the best passing quarterback, but the best quarterback overall with those run. I bet since it's been a week, you guys forgot that he ran 2 rushing touchdowns in the first quarter alone. I bet you're forgetting about that. I bet you're forgetting that without our center or our main quarterback, we upset the Ravens, who were expected to go 3-0. I bet you didn't think Matt Gay would outperform Justin Tucker and become the first kicker in history to get 4 kicks on or past the 50-yard line. I bet you didn't expect any of this. And I bet you didn't expect them to be this high. But if you really looked at it, their defense has played better than almost all these teams under here. I think they lead the league in sacks and tackles. Our front 7 looks beautiful. Our safeties and cornerbacks aren't the greatest, but we've looked better than all these teams. And if we lose to the Rams, I'll bump them down, of course. But we put the league on notice, and we are here to play. Anyway, next. Broncos keep wanting to move up. You're not moving up. Next, we have the Falcons, who I think just barely edge out the Colts in terms of play. Bijan Robinson, him. Desmond Ridder, he's not that good, but he can win games. The defense is pretty good. Overall, this Falcon team looks like it's going to win the division. Is it? Depends if the Saints and the Buccaneers want to play. But the Falcons team has looked pretty good. They came back week 2 against the Packers. They did lose a hard game to the Lions, but the Lions are a really good team. And overall, I believe the Falcons have played pretty well so far. Finally, to round out the 11th spot, we have the Browns. And the Browns, I do believe, are going to move down, especially without Nick Chubb for the season. I feel really bad for Nick Chubb. But after owning the Titans, I believe that it's right to keep him up this high for now. Only for now, though. Deshaun Watson hasn't looked good through the first 3 games. I mean, he looks like he hasn't played good, really. I mean, do you see last week that random backwards throw? I don't know what he was doing there. Yeah, he hasn't looked too good, but the defense is elite. Their defense is really good. Myles Garrett and all that. Their defense is pretty good. And if the offense can pick it up, they can stay up here. If not, they're probably going to move down a bit. We reach our top 10. And the team just edging them out. The team who beat them are the Pittsburgh Steelers. The offense hasn't looked the best the first 2 games, but they picked it up the 3rd game. The defense looks really nice, especially with TJ Watt. I mean, TJ Watt has been great this whole season. He may win DPOI. And I feel like their offense is picking up, especially after week 3. Kenny Pickett will probably get into the groove and finally reach what I expected him to be. And overall, the Steelers team looks like it's on the up, even though a lot of people are dissing. At number 9, a team just barely ahead of them, but moving down a lot on my list, are the Ravens. And that's what happens when you blow an easy game to the Colts. You move down a lot. Ravens, injuries galore. There are injuries everywhere. If Lamar Jackson goes down, your season's over. We hope he doesn't, but he may. Injuries everywhere. So that's really explaining the whole team. Lamar Jackson looks great. Zay Flowers looks great. The defense looks really good. But other than that, if they can keep the injuries away, they'll probably move up. If not, then they could become a mid-team. Next, we have the team who just lost to the Cardinals. That's right. We have America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. Dak Prescott, he looked fine the first 2 games. He sucked week 3. The offense looked great the first 2 games. They sucked week 3. They were in contention for the best defense in the league. The defense sucked week 3. I don't know if the Cardinals just own them or something. But the Cowboys, what are you doing? I mean, you're lucky I ain't moving you down under your top 10. If they keep this up, then they might not even make the playoffs. It's crazy to think how good they were doing the first 2 weeks, dismantling the Jets, well, teams with that defense. So yeah, I'm disappointed in you, Cowboys. Next, we have the Seahawks. And after a shocking loss to the Rams week 1, they picked it up a lot, beating the Lions, and then beating the Carolina Panthers. Geno Smith's still good. Their offense is still good. Their defense is all right. I'm a little bit worried on the defense, though, because they allowed the team to at least put up 27, I believe. 27 or more. It might be 30 or more. I'd have to go check. Yeah, a little worried on the defense, but the offense is pretty good. So I do still have high hopes for this team, and I hope they do good. Next, rounding out our top 5 left on our list, we have the Detroit Lions. And yes, you may be thinking, how could I put the Lions above the Seahawks, even though the Seahawks beat them? Well, the Seahawks lost to the Rams. I think that's all I have to say. Jared Goff sadly did not get the record. The Seahawks player just had to ruin it for no reason. But Jared Goff still looks great. The offense looks really good. The defense is actually shockingly pretty good. They played well against the Falcons, and they beat the Chiefs. That's all I gotta say, really. They beat the Chiefs on defense, so, yeah. This Lions team is really good. And now with the Vikings 0-3, I have them winning the division 100%. 100% they win the division. Now, we reach our top 5 teams, the main primary Super Bowl contenders, and I'm going to start this list off with the Bills. Now, in hindsight, they had the more embarrassing loss. The Chiefs lost to the Lions, and the Bills lost to the Jets, who are bad now. And they were bad week 1 as well. But the Bills are still a really good team. Don't count them out. I have the Chiefs just a little bit better than them. Just a little bit. Josh Allen in the offense is still really great. Glad they're starting to run the ball with James Cook now. And the defense is still pretty good too. So, against the Dolphins week 4, this could change a lot of things. You guys gotta win that game. Or else you won't move down, but the Dolphins will solidify themselves. And is that really what you want to do? Next, surprised that they're only at 4, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. And this is mainly because they lost to the Lions. And they had a tough game against the Jaguars, surprisingly. I think they've rebounded, picked up the pace fully with that blowout win against the Bears. I think the Chiefs are back. Patrick Mahomes, obviously the best quarterback in the league behind Anthony. I'm just messing with you guys. Travis Kelce, especially now that it seems like he's with Taylor Swift. Weird world we live in. I think he's going to turn it up for her. And the defense, well, they played the Bears, so we really don't know yet. But with Chris Jones, they'll likely be fine. So, yeah, I have this stupid team at 4th. Now we reach their top 3. And these 3 teams are the top of the league. And first, I'm going to start it off with the Philadelphia Eagles. Their defense is elite. It's still elite. It's still elite. That's really all I have to say. No reason Jalen Carter should have fell that far. The offense still looks pretty well. Jalen Hurts regressing the smallest amount, but he's fine. And other than that, they're just a really, really dominant team. And a team that could represent the NFC. Of course, next team, you may think, oh, why am I putting this team below this other team? But I'm putting the 49ers at 2. They have the best defense in the league, no doubt. That's 100%. Their offense still looks really good. Again, the only reason I have these guys at number 2 and not number 1 is because we're still not too sure on Brock Purdy. If Brock Purdy starts to play really, really good, like, I don't know, Patrick Mahomes-esque, 49ers are number 1. But if he still falters behind, I feel like they just stay at 2, really. And last, I don't need to speak too much on this. We have the Dolphins. Tua, MVP candidate, will maybe MVP this year. Tyreek Hill probably wins Offensive Player of the Year. Their defense, even without my boy Jalen Ramsey, they still look pretty good. They put up 70 points. Their offense is elite beyond no end. And I don't see this team dropping under 3 wins, in my opinion. I mean, they look amazing. But anyway, I hope to see you guys next time. I don't know if this is after I post review or not. But if this is after, my next video will be, of course, predictions. If this is before, then my next video, well, are going to be review. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, even though it's a long one, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.